Expansion sets like Crucible of War, Everfest, and Dynasty were Flesh and Blood's original method of bringing off-cycle support to all classes. But with Bright Lights came a change in strategy, the expansion slot, a method by which offset classes could still get limited but much-needed support without impacting limited play. By most measures, the expansion slot philosophy has been nothing short of a massive success for Flesh and Blood, and likewise has been extremely well received by the wider community. But with the associated retirement of the expansion sets comes a consequence to Blitz, and this has heralded a bit of a philosophy change around Blitz by LSS. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, my Flesh and Blood friends. Welcome back to Dice Commando and Go Again, a fabulous cast, and thanks so much for joining me here on our collective Flesh and Blood Friday. Now, many of you may have noticed that I have tended to start to like to use these Friday slots for more of a philosophy or a community-style chat, and today's no different because I want to talk about how the shift away from expansion sets has impacted the Blitz format and also kind of reflects a shift in how LSS approaches the introduction of Blitz-only heroes. I then want to talk about how this, combined with some of the comments that I believe have been just so ever slightly misunderstood, have really upped the community misunderstanding of what Blitz means to this game and the larger environment of Flesh and Blood. Now, previous to 2023, expansion sets were the method by which classes and heroes would get their off-cycle support. And by off-cycle support, just to clarify, I mean outside of a draftable and class-focused set. Now, there was a relatively well-established pattern here, right? Every few sets, an expansion set would show up, non-draftable, and with support for all classes at the time. These had to be non-draftable, of course, because it would be extremely difficult to make such a widely supporting set work within Flesh and Blood's limited system. Crucible of War was a massive boon to Fab, bringing in much-needed support and play diversity. But it also introduced the 52-card Blitz format, and brought in Aria, which was a huge win as it also functionally made the learn-to-play decks competitively legal. And Crew did so with a bang, dropping a ton of Blitz-only heroes and massively expanding playstyles. Everfest continued this tradition, dropping 3 Blitz-only heroes, one of which, of course, Isunder, was simply a preview for her future appearance as a fully cooked hero in the upcoming Uprising set. And later that year, Dynasty, bringing the Emperor and the worst bodyguard in the world of Rathe, Yoji. So these expansion sets not only built out and gave additional support to all classes, but also bolstered the Blitz format and continued the tradition of unique, format-only heroes that pushed the limits of Flesh and Blood's mechanical design. And from my standpoint, this is very important. Part of what makes Blitz fun and unique is that it's not just a faster or smaller or cheaper or whatever version of the game, but how the wider and more diverse hero pool provides fun, sometimes wonky, and yes, sometimes broken, playstyles for players to go explore. Having the Blitz-only heroes defines much of the excitement and the anything that can happen feeling of the Blitz format. They're, to me, an important part of the format's identity. But with Bright Lights, we saw a shift in product philosophy. Gone were the days of expansion sets, and instead the off-cycle hero and class support would be delivered via the new expansion slot. This was a net positive for a few reasons. First, it meant that they didn't have to pump the brakes and could instead have every set support limited play. Second, it meant that heroes would no longer have to wait upwards of a year even to get the support that might be needed. But with the removal of the expansion sets, and with them the traditional method of injection of Blitz-only heroes, it left a gap in the direct support of that format. Now, to be completely fair here, nothing actually stops Blitz heroes from being present in expansion slots. It's something that in theory could certainly be done. But to date, that hasn't happened, and in reality, when you really consider the limited number of expansion slots within a given set, it makes it very unlikely that it will happen. It's just really too much opportunity cost in sacrificing a much-needed card slot for Fab's flagship format to support an ancillary format like Blitz, and thus I feel is very unlikely to happen. And on top of that, one can certainly challenge whether or not this is even needed. With the implementation of products like First Strike and Round the Table and similar, there are a multitude of pathways to deliver Blitz-focused heroes. Terra, for example, appears in the first strike decks. Although with no comma behind his name, it is highly likely that he will appear as an adult in the near future, thus not being a Blitz-only hero. But at least in concept, this is certainly a potential future path. But to this end, we've seen a clear shift in Legend Story Studios' approach to delivering Blitz-only heroes. Enigma New Moon was introduced in part to Mistveil as a gold pack hero, essentially a chase card of sorts. This was a really innovative way to not only present an Uber chase card, an iteration of sorts on what was done with the Emperor in Dynasty, but also to inject a Blitz-only hero through a standard product. And then there was Blaze, oh Blaze, introduced as an exclusive yet legal hero through Summer 2024 conventions, as well as a champion-only prize for Skirmish Season 9. The very first time that Flesh and Blood has seen a competitively legal hero introduced that was not available in a product. Now, whether LSS is exploring different methods, or if these new methods will become the standard, is certainly yet to be determined. I, for one, hope that the Blaze method is one that we do not see more of in the future. But regardless whether one agrees or disagrees with the New Moon and Blaze methods, at the very least, having Blitz-focused content released in official products helps to reinforce the importance and continued support of the format. Because already we've seen discussions and attitude shifts around the Blitz format, and ultimately the community perception of how important it is to Legend Story Studios. This shift, combined with some other relevant factors, have really put a lot of pressure on the temperature around Blitz as a format. There's been a lot of vocal sentiment around the fact that Blitz is no longer a competitive format, which is of course not true. This mostly stems from the Fluke and Box interview with James White during the world premiere of Mistveil.
So the Blaze is a young hero for starts. It's only legal in Blitz, and we just have a little bit of a looser approach to Blitz, if I'm being honest with you. People probably notice there haven't been any Blitz callings, or it hasn't been a World Championship format last year, and probably it won't be a format at the World Championship this year either. And I think that Blitz has sort of settled into a position of being a bit more casually or socially orientated. That's not to say we won't do things with Blitz in the future. Like, we would like to bring it back into some high level opportunities. I know people have very fond memories of like the Team Blitz events that ran across the world. We did the world premiere weekends back alongside Uprising, which were really popular. We did the team actually in Sydney, didn't we? We did the Team Blitz as well. So we know that people enjoy teams, but saying that, I think the teams part of that is probably more important than the Blitz part of that. But I guess my point is that Blitz is its place in an ecosystem has evolved slightly from what it was a couple of years back. So in saying that, I think that making things like a convention exclusive promo, which is Blitz, legal, is like acceptable.
Now, certainly what was said, and there's no denying that. However, my interpretation of his overall statement was that he was really saying that they approach Blitz from a design standpoint much more casually than they do something as compared to Classic Constructed. And now sure, Blitz isn't in the world structure, but that doesn't mean it's not competitive by any means. A competitive format is one that folks play within the Flesh and Blood organized play, as evidenced by Skirmish Season 9 and the upcoming Skirmish Season 10. It's legal for armories, which are casual structure, but still very much competitive. It's an important part of side events at callings, pro tours, national festivals, and so on, where folks compete playing against each other to win tickets and prizing. So yes, I strongly disagree with the statement that Blitz is not a competitive format. Blitz is also not a format that LSS is going to stop supporting, as evidenced by the continued drip not only of new heroes, but of new products. Think about it, right? If they weren't going to continue to support Blitz, they wouldn't be releasing First Strike decks as Blitz decks. Instead, it's time that the community embraces the fact that Blitz is its own format, not simply a budget and or reduced version of Classic Constructed. And just because it's not a format within Worlds, does not mean for a minute that it has been relegated only to the kitchen table. Taking a more casual approach to the format and the design thereof isn't really any different than what has always been there. And because the Blitz-only, crazy, and one-off design heroes that are such an important part of what makes this format so fun, unique, and special, because they are continuing to be supported, albeit through different methods, the evidence is certainly there that LSS continues to value the format. Blitz, both as a format and as a concept, is completely awesome. It serves a very important purpose within our game, and it helps us all by being here, even if you, or myself, or someone else doesn't personally enjoy the format as it looks today, or tomorrow, after the day after that. And yes, that can certainly change from time to time as heroes rise and heroes fall. But Blitz's presence helps grow our game and our communities. So let's consider pumping the brakes on the all-out assault on Blitz. It's a good thing, even when it's not at its best. Thanks for today, my friends, and go Commando.